Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, folks, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Berkman, and this morning we have with us from New York, Michael Freed from the law firm of Berkman, Bottger, Newman, and Schein. Sorry, I had to read that. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, for inviting me.
Absolutely. So to keep with the theme of the show, Latte with a Lawyer, what's your morning beverage of choice?
So my morning beverage of choice is actually not the normal coffee or tea. If anything, I'll have an orange juice if I'm out somewhere, but I tried to stay away from coffee. I think the last time I had coffee was many years ago in college.
Really? Why? You're afraid of it?
Yeah, I have enough energy. I don't need to be totally overwired, but yeah.
Got it. Yeah. No. Okay, that's good. Good stuff. I'm a bit of an addict, so I need at least 2 or 3 cups a day.
Right.
It's totally habit. I don't think it really does much to me. It's just the habit of the routine.
Right.
So I see that you are you're a family law practitioner. So tell us about your practice, what you do.
Sure. So I am I'm a litigation partner in the matrimonial and family law firm of Berkman, Bottger, Newman, and Schein. And what we do is we handle all aspects of divorce, dealing with property distribution, and in New York, it's called equitable distribution, spousal support, which is also the term is maintenance, spousal maintenance, child support, and custody issues. In addition, we also handle orders of protection and prenuptial agreements as well as postnuptial agreements.
What's a postnuptial? I mean, I hear a lot about prenups, but give me an example of a postnuptial.
Well, it's very similar to what a prenuptial agreement is, except the difference is that the parties are married. So it's an agreement after the marriage in which they take care of their financial issues. So it's, again, really in the same vein as a prenuptial agreement.
Okay.
Done after marriage.
Is it easier to do it before or after?
Well, we tend to try to have these done before marriage as the prenuptial agreements, and ideally have them done several months before the marriage. And there are times in which I have clients come in maybe a week to 2 weeks before the marriage, and I always tell them at that point, it's better off if you do a postnuptial agreement because it's more apt to be subject to a challenge that the other side saying, they were pressured, they felt like they were under duress, and those are the type of agreements that later on get set aside. So you only want to do this once. You want to do it the right way. So my best advice with people that want to do a prenuptial agreement, do it a few months before the marriage so you can enjoy the fun of preparing for a marriage rather than dealing with a last minute hectic scramble to review and sign a prenuptial agreement, which down the road, it could be something that could be attacked later on.
Yeah. No, I noticed that it seems to be more commonplace. I've talked to quite a few family lawyers, and it's more commonplace now, isn't it, to have a prenup?
It is. Most of the time people do it when they have family businesses or they receive inheritances, and they want to protect those inheritances or the family business. So
yeah. Well, the statistics are sort of suggest that you ought to do that, right?
Right, exactly.
But I would imagine it's a touchy subject, right? To have that conversation.
It is. It's not easy, and as a lawyer, I don't want to. I want to try to get it done. I don't want to interfere with somebody's marriage, but our job is to counsel and give our best advice as possible. So when it comes to that, that's why I want to do it so far in advance. So if there are issues, we could work through those so that we can get an agreement signed.
Got it. So give me an example of like a case? You're in the New York area, so you must have some pretty high profile cases there.
We do have high profile. We deal with a lot of high net worth clients and some in the entertainment area. Um, Obviously, I can't get into names or
Sure.
names of the clients, but we deal mostly with, again, the high net worth clients, and we deal with distribution of business interests, practices, professional practices. Um, so, and also so contested custody matters as well.
Hmm. Are there any that sort of stand out that there was a really interesting case that you worked on that would be worthy of
Well,
sharing? Again, I know you can't share details.
yeah, I had a highly contested custody matter, and my client lived in Brooklyn. The mother lived in Brooklyn, and the father had moved to Texas. And we ended up having a trial lasted over a month. It was in Brooklyn, and I ended up my mother-in-law lives in Brooklyn. I ended up staying with her for the month because it was one of those that, I live on Long Island, and traveling back and forth would have been too much. So it was an intense month. And ultimately, this wasn't a case that we could even try to settle, because you're not going to say, well, it's New York, Texas. You're not going to settle on Iowa. It's going to be either New York or Texas. So the case had to be tried. And we ended up bringing in expert witnesses on the case. Ultimately, we were successful, and the client got custody in New York. And it was one of the more difficult cases. And custody cases are always like that. When you're dealing with money, it's a financial transaction. But when you're dealing with people's lives, it's what makes our profession so challenging. Dealing with the human emotion, and with people's lives, children's lives. I mean, we wear so many hats as matrimonial lawyers, and not many people understand or appreciate that. But we're part social worker, we're part economist. We're doing so much at such a difficult time in people's lives, the worst time in their lives. So it's gratifying to me, especially when I can help somebody move on with their life, and with custody as well. It's an emotional time, and it's difficult for the litigants to go through something like this. I always say, you really have to have the stomach for it. If young lawyers that try to to go into this field and understand what it takes, it's not easy at all, really.
Yeah. So that was a jury trial that you?
No, it was a judge trial. There are no jury
There are
trials
no jury trials.
in New
Okay.
York, right? For
Okay.
matrimonial.
But lasted a month. Wow, that must have been quite a case.
It was a definitely was a difficult case, and emotions ran very high.
Wow. But you prevailed. Okay. But there's a winner. Is there a winner and loser in those cases, or you come to an agreement?
Well, unfortunately, like I said, there couldn't have been any type of midway agreement, because my client wanted to stay in New York,
Oh, yeah.
and the husband didn't want to move back to New York and wanted to stay in Texas. So we ended up having to have witnesses. I was cross-examining witnesses from Texas, because they were trying to say Texas is a better area, and we were dealing with because the child went down to Texas, and they had friends and family in Texas, cross-examining them over Skype, which was because this was done before the pandemic. So it was before Zoom had really taken off, and we were doing it, and nobody really knew how to do it at that time, because nobody even heard. This was going back in 2014. So we weren't even considering anything, and it was like a newfound thing. Skype. It was the first time I ever heard Skype. And I thought the strangest thing was having to cross-examine somebody. Normally, I'm in a courtroom and I'm looking you eye to eye, but because we were on Skype, I'm looking into a little camera, trying to cross-examine, which at the time was the strangest thing. Nowadays, after COVID, it's become commonplace.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So how'd you get there? I mean, how did you, like, tell us about your path, like, to become a lawyer and how you ended up in family law.
Sure. So I went to Touro Law School, and at Touro, I took in we had to do these. It was like a pro bono work. We worked in family courts getting orders of protection for battered women. And as a law student going into court, it was a daunting task, but I really started to really enjoy being in a courtroom, getting orders of protection, getting the sense of, being quick on my feet and being able to talk to a judge. I really enjoyed it. So I started working right out of law school for a sole practitioner out on Long Island in a house. I mean, I started in very modest means. I worked out of a garage my first year of law school, and then I met my future wife, and I was so excited, making $18,000 a year, thinking this is the greatest thing. And then she's like, well, that's not going to fly if we're going to get married. So I ended up working in the city and getting a great experience there, working there for about 6 or 7 years until we started a family, and living on Long Island and commuting from the city to Long Island with small children, very, very difficult.
Mm.
I ended up going back to Long Island, working for a great firm where I ended up becoming a partner, working there for about 19 years. And then around 2019, I made the trip back to New York City, working for a great firm now, Berkman, Bottger, Newman, and Schein, which I tell you, I really enjoy, really because of the fact that we have so many great young associates and being able to mentor those associates. I'm doing this 25 years now. So one of the things I enjoy the most about working in the firm is being able to talk and really give advice to the younger associates.
Yeah, that's nice. You get to a certain point in your life when you want to give back, which is fun.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. Well, why'd you decide to become a lawyer?
My sister is a successful OBGYN, and I hated the sight of blood. And I said, I want to do something that, can change people's lives, and I can't do it on the medical end. So I thought law would be a great profession. And when I was in law school, trying to figure out what to do with myself, I said, not many people, I'm sure, want to be a matrimonial lawyer. There's a lot of emotion in it. And at that time in the 90s, it was very difficult to get jobs for lawyers. So I figured, maybe this is an area that I can do well in. And I always wanted to specialize in one field because I always felt I wasn't smart enough to know everything. But I figured if you specialize in one thing, it's a good thing, because look, if you have a foot problem, you go to a foot doctor. You don't go to your general doctor. And I felt maybe if I can, get a niche in this area, that would be a way to success. And I tell you, I'm so glad I did it. I love what I do. Every day, I don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, no, listen, I mean, it's true in any business. I mean, focus is the key to being successful. You can't do everything. So I totally agree with you. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, so you found your place in life, which is great. What are the traits? What are the qualities you think that make a great lawyer?
I think being able to listen. It's so important that, as lawyers, that we listen. So many times I've gone against other lawyers that they just charge up the mountain without, even considering some nuances. That they don't have touch. You need to listen. You need to also have touch and understand, and empathize with your clients. I think, there's a term called emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence really is understanding what a client is going through. And I see it in my practice. I always tell the story. I deal with custody and access schedules all the time. When would a parent see a child? Maybe it's 3, 3, 4, 5, 2, 2, 5, all these different permutations of when you're going to see it, the child, and you become numb to it as a lawyer. But in real life, I remember a time when my son had a friend who was, the parents are going through a divorce. And one weekend, I'm like, oh, where's your friend? She's like, well, he's with his father. And it all of a sudden dawned on me. I said, you don't personalize it because, it becomes just part of your job. But in that instance, that second, it kind of took me back and say, there's more to it than what you write out on paper. These are people's lives. And I think that is so important to be able to relate to your client. This is the first time they're going through it. Whereas, I've been doing this 25 years. I've done thousands of cases, but this is their life and this is their case. And it's so important to listen and understand what they're going through and try to, make it as tolerable as possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my parents were divorced as a kid, and I remember at the time, I mean, it was a long time ago, you were embarrassed to even say it. I mean, now it's commonplace, but like you didn't even want people to know that your parents were divorced.
Yeah, and it's still I've noticed that, and I have clients. I always tell them it's so important when you first are going through this, get your children help, get them a therapist. It's okay, and get yourself a therapist. It's okay to want to be able to, we always say take care of ourselves physically, but you got to take care of yourself mentally as well.
Right. Absolutely. Is there a sort of I mean, you said you get a little bit numb to it, but is there a sort of a templated approach to this where, there's a bias toward, the mother gets custody, or is there any like just sort of standard approach to this?
Well, I mean, in the past, I would say over the past 10 years, there's been a shift in the custody area. It used to be one party's going to get custody, one wins, one loses.
Yeah.
But as has gone on, the courts have been more apt to discuss joint custody, where they're saying, tell me why we shouldn't have 50-50 access, and then go from there. Whereas it used to be, tell me why mom shouldn't have custody.
Right.
And then, try to move closer. But now we're at a starting point where it's 50-50.
Interesting.
And I would say a good majority of my cases, you're dealing with joint residential custody with a 50-50. And it's really less often the case that you have these contested cases where you have trials. And most of the time when you're having trials, it's dealing with decision making, because there's two facets to custody. There's the residential area, where are the children going to stay, but also who's going to make the decisions. That's the legal custody aspect.
Right.
Who's going to make those decisions? And nowadays, it used to be we'd have, maybe mom would make the medical decision, dad would make the educational decision. Now, a lot of times we are moving towards getting parental coordinators, parent coordinators that come in, and they could be therapists. Sometimes they're even lawyers, and they come in and they opine about what would be a solution for a decision regarding education or medical issues, or even logistical residential custody issues. So I see a trend now towards using parent coordinators, which is better for the client, so they're not spending money going to lawyers like us, and they're using a less expensive route, and hopefully using that to resolve these disputes rather than going to court.
Yeah, interesting. So let me ask you a question. I'm curious. So you don't have jury trials, but you still have to be persuasive, right?
Yes.
Again, using emotional intelligence with the judge, right, or who's ever arbitrating, the arbiter of the case. So do you have to prepare for that? And do you have to test your arguments to see how it's going to land? And how do you
So
do that?
yeah, so what we do is, before every court appearance, I I prepare a cheat sheet, and it's basically for me to be able to have all my arguments laid out in an outline form. And what I try to do is prepare those arguments based upon my knowledge and experience in the law of doing this 25 years, of knowing, in terms of child support in New York, there's certain caps in terms of how they calculate child support. Knowing where I am in New York City, I'm sure I'm going to get a higher cap for child support than if my case was in Suffolk County out east on Long Island, where they're more conservative. So arguments based upon where we are, where the case is important. So there's a great deal of preparation. The most success people that attorneys have are the ones that are doing the work behind the scenes and all the research. When I'm working with associates, getting the case law that I need. So when I go before a judge, I'm prepared and I make the best argument possible.
Mm. But but what I'm wondering, like with a jury trial, right, where you have to really, they're making decisions based on lots of things, right? They like you, how
Yeah.
well you're connecting. Do you have to do the same things with a judge?
Well, it's a little different.
Yeah.
We're it's really fact sensitive, and with the judges, most of the judges know us. Our firm is very well known within the metropolitan area, so we could be before the same judge on 3 or 4 different cases
Okay.
in 1 week. So I'm not there to bowl them over with as if it was like a jury. I think we garner respect from these judges by being prepared and making a cogent argument that is based on prior case law and an understanding of the statutes. So we're not there to impress. We're really more trying to persuade based upon the facts in our case and how they are applied to the law.
Got it. Yeah, I saw in your background, moot court. You go back to Truro, right, as a judge.
Yes, yes, that's one of the most enjoyable things. I try to do it every year if I can, where they present an argument, and after the argument is over, the judges critique the law students, and it's my way, I feel, of giving back to where I went to law school, and giving them opinions as to how to improve. But yeah, it's a great program. I love doing it.
Got it. And maybe you recruit some lawyers from there too.
Every once in a while, there are a few that I would consider. I've interviewed in the past people that I've had, and it's a good area for recruitment.
Yeah, I would think so. Your way of testing them out. I mean, what better way, right, than to see them in action?
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. I'm curious, technology that we're a legal tech platform. I'm wondering what kind of technology you leverage these days besides Zoom. Everybody's on Zoom. Anything else?
We use as our operating system. We have NetDocs, which we use for our documents, which is a great program. Gets us, pull up a client. These days we're trying to be as paperless as possible. It's very difficult in our area to do that, especially me. I mean, you can see behind me, I have a lot of papers because I'm a trial lawyer. So I need to smell it, touch it, feel it, all the evidence. And so when I'm sometimes at home, I'll review documents on a screen, but I always feel it's better for me to be able to grab onto a document. It's what I'm used to.
Yeah. So you probably like to read a real book as opposed to like Kindle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm the same way. So just to finish this off here, what do you want to leave with the audience about you and your firm and best way to connect?
Sure. Well, with our firm, one of the things that I feel that Berkman, Bottger, Newman, and Schein stands out as above other matrimonial firms is we have three ways in which we resolve disputes. We have our partners that handle mediation, where they are the mediators, and the two parties come in and the mediator tries to build a bridge to a resolution without going to court. It's a great way of handling it. Another method, I have partners that handle collaborative law, which is basically you have two collaborative lawyers who represent the clients, as opposed to mediation, in which mediator doesn't represent either one, but the collaborative lawyers work collaboratively, work together to try to come to a resolution. What's interesting with collaborative law is if you can't resolve the case and you have to go to court, those collaborative lawyers can no longer stay on the case.
Oh.
So it's incentive for the clients to try to resolve the case rather than having to hire a new attorney to then basically go to court. So we offer either mediation, collaborative law, or the traditional way of litigation, which is what I do. And I handle all the depositions and trials with another partner in the firm. We are 22 attorneys over 3 offices. So we have a New York City office on 43rd between 5th and Madison, right in Bryant Park.
Yep.
We have a Long Island office at 666 Old Country Road in Garden City, and a White Plains, Westchester office. So if anybody needs to contact us, best way is you call us on our line. It's 212-867-9123. And my email address is mfried@berkbot, BERKBOT.com.
Excellent. Good stuff. Well, it's been a pleasure. Michael Fried, and you must have said your firm name a million times. I got to read it. Berkman, Bottger, Newman, and Schein.
No problem.
And this show is sponsored by EmotionTrac, and we are a legal tech platform that helps litigators prepare for mediation and trials. So thank you again, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.